Welcome everyone to this listening part 6 viewpoints analysis. Before we get started, I want to let you know that I will be following the tips and strategies guide that we can find in our CELPIP library, listening part 6, understanding viewpoints section. And in that section, there is this guide which will give you more tips and strategies and guide you with some more effective ways to complete part 6 more effectively. So if you would like to watch that video, I will leave a link in the description box to the CELPIP library for some practice and also for that video. Okay, so for now, I'm just going to be briefly going over the guide, which tells us how to listen effectively. Yes, for this part, full sentence mode, not vocabulary mode, very important. Higher levels, we can do this more easily. Of course, what information to focus on, very important to understand the differences in the views. What are the differences? Yes. And how can we read the questions? Right, we need to read the questions to understand and repeat them more clearly. Okay. How can we respond to questions? What should we focus on? What kind of words should we be analyzing? Okay. And how can we select the answers more clearly? Okay. Idea association, definitely more important than vocabulary association. Okay, for now, let's get started with today's analysis. So everyone, I'm here in the listening part 6, understanding viewpoints section of the CELPIP library. Okay. And today we are going to be analyzing a part 6 from volume 10 called Digital Education. Okay. Common topics about technology and education. Okay. So let's not forget, everyone, that I'm going to give you a chance to do the listening for yourself. You will do the listening, and then I will be showing you each question and each answer. And then after that, we will analyze the answers together. Okay? But first, I'm going to give you a chance to do the listening for yourself. Let's remember, listening part 6, of course, the most difficult part. It's very important, everyone. We need to understand what is the main issue being discussed. Okay? And then what are some different views about that issue? Some people will say it's good. Other people will say it's not good. Some will agree with it. Some won't agree with it. So we need to ask, why do they agree? Or why do they disagree? Okay? Very important for higher levels. I'm not sure how you remember information or how you retain information. I find that there are two very effective ways. The first one is, of course, taking notes. I've seen students that take notes, they write almost everything, and they get 10, 11, and 12 in the listening, okay? And I've seen other students that don't. So what is the difference? Well, the main difference is, how do you retain information better? In my case, I repeat information in my mind. I find that repeating information about the people, different views, why some agree, why some disagree, I find that helps me more than writing. Okay? Now, about the questions. Sometimes the listening is very easy. but the questions are what's tricky. And about the questions, we will analyze them later, but the most important is about reading the ideas clearly, each answer clearly. And what do I mean? Sometimes they use words from the listening or ideas from the listening, but they say the opposite information in the answers. So we have to make sure that we're clear about that because that's the main thing that the exam does, which is idea confusion. So let's keep an eye open for that. Now let's get started with the listening, okay?
Listening for viewpoints. You will hear a report once. It is about 3 minutes long. Then 6 questions will appear. Choose the best way to answer each question from the drop down menu.
Computer technology has been influencing education since the 1960s. Although initially used for cataloging and other clerical purposes, such technology now affects almost every aspect of education. The advent of laptops and mobile devices, along with the development of software programs to be used in course delivery, has transformed the classroom. Professor Tim Diamanti notes that instructors no longer need to prepare and carry around photocopies of course materials. Students can now access such material through a shared access website. All they need is an internet connection. This digitized material can be presented in a variety of visual and oral formats, suitable for any type of learner. Furthermore, Diamanti notes computers can even act as tutors, delivering individualized instruction, complete with supplemental instructions and exercise as needed. Diamanti adds that instead of having to wait for the small window of time provided by the professor's office hours, students can now contact the professors at any time via email or other message formats. However, educational psychologists are concerned about the long-term effects of this technology. Eye strain and increased sedentary habits are the least of their concerns. Students need not take notes anymore because they can access the recorded lecture later, but taking notes is an important part of the process of understanding and internalizing information. Focus levels and attention spans may be decreasing due to the multiple stimuli that are characteristic of the internet environment. Interpersonal skills may also be suffering as students meet each other in person less often. My own work at the university has been most affected by the significant reduction in physical space that is needed. No longer must our libraries be crammed with stacks full of physical books. With the exception of art history and a few other disciplines, my staff have found that electronic databases, electronic journals, and electronic books satisfy students' needs. In fact, students have access to more knowledge than ever before because of digitalization. Researchers in particular value e-journals, not only for their portability and ease of storage, but also for the text search features. Furthermore, many libraries now feature large reading and meeting rooms equipped with projection screens and video conferencing capacities. The former enable maps, blueprints, and other such materials to be displayed in extraordinary detail for simultaneous viewing by multiple people. The latter enable research partners to be in different rooms, different cities, and even different time zones.
Okay, so now let's get to the questions. There are 6 questions, and we have 4 minutes. So that's about 40 seconds per question. Now I'm going to read the questions, and you can answer them, but I won't answer them yet. I'm going to give you a chance, but I will read them just to let you know what is the focus part. So here we go. Number 1. What is the main focus of the lecture? Differences in how a professor's time is used now and in the past. Contrasts between learning in the pre-digital and digital age. Advantages of online learning for today's university students. Advantages of online learning. Benefits of traditional learning materials for the digital classroom. Traditional learning materials. Benefits. Okay, question 2. The use of computer technology has changed over time, is a very recent development, is the reason for digitizing books, has not always been supported. Not always been supported. Hmm. Okay, question 3. Professor DeMonte seems to welcome educational technology, be hesitant toward new technology, prefer traditional teaching methods, see pros and cons of digitization. Pros and cons, hesitant. Okay, question 4. Educational psychologists would likely agree, okay, that today's students have better health overall than students in previous generations, lack the organizational skills to manage their course loads, spend more time with friends than in previous generations, have increased difficulty retaining what was learned in class. Not clear. Okay. Long one. Question 5. The speaker suggests that technology at universities has created problems for his staff, made the students lazier about research, has been an asset to his department, and caused problems or caused professors to publish less research. And number 6, the speaker would most likely agree that libraries are no longer considered places of quiet study. Print books are being replaced by more versatile resources. Projection screens are valuable only to certain disciplines. Video conferencing capabilities are most useful to administrators. Hmm. So then, everyone, I hope you chose the right answers. Very interesting about digitalizing education or the digitization of education. Okay, very good. So, what is the main focus of the lecture? Okay. So, not about the professor's time is used. Now, contrast between learning in the pre digital, before, and digital age. So, it's comparing how things are now to how they were in the past. I believe that that is the answer. Advantages of online learning. It didn't talk about online learning. Benefits of learning materials in the digital classroom. Now, it wasn't just talking about the benefits. it also gave some negatives, right? So it's comparing and contrasting now and before, okay? Now, number 2, the use of computer technology on education. Well, it definitely said has changed over time. Not very recent. I remember it was from the 1960s. Is the reason for digitizing books? So digitizing books or making new books, that's not the reason. Has not always been supported. Now I heard about that, but I believe that the point is that it has been changing. So it's not about not supported. It mentioned a psychologist who didn't support it, but that was only one example. Let's have a look at the script here just to be clear. So it says, computer technology has been influencing education since the 1960s, so it's not new, okay? And then it says initially used for cataloging and other clerical purposes. And the advent of laptops and mobile devices, along with the development of software programs to be used in course delivery, has transformed the classroom. Okay. So it's not really saying about not always supported. And when we go down here, it talked about, however, educational psychologists are concerned about the long-term effects of this technology. So long-term, they're not supporting it, okay? So that's why the better answer is A. 3, Professor DeMonte seems to welcome educational technology, be hesitant toward new technology, prefer traditional methods. So hesitant means he doesn't agree with it. I don't think so. Not prefer traditional. Pros and cons of digitization. I think it's A. If we remember here about Professor DeMonte, he says, Professor DeMonte notes that instructors no longer need to prepare and carry around photocopies of course materials. Students can now access such material through a shared access website. Okay. And then further, DeMonte notes computers can even act as tutors, delivering individualized instruction. Complement with supplemental instructions and exercise as needed. So I see here only positives. So welcome educational technology. He seems to welcome it. Educational psychologists would likely agree. So that was key. Agree with what? Now, it did say about eye strain and sedentary lifestyles, but I'm not sure if it says that now. That today's students have better? No, that's wrong. Sorry. Today's students have worse. Lack organizational skills. I don't remember organizational skills. Spend more time with friends. Now I remember that it didn't say spend more time, it said spend less time. So not see. Have increased difficulty retaining what is learned in class. I believe he mentioned notes. He said notes. Okay, let me just double check. He says they don't take notes in class, and for that reason, they struggle. Students need not take notes anymore because they can access the recorded lecture later. But taking notes is an important part of the process understanding and internalizing information. Right. And then says here interpersonal skills may also be suffering as students meet each other in person less. So for that reason, here it's not more time, it's less. Not about organizational skills and less health. Okay? The speaker suggests that technology at universities has. I didn't hear about problems with his staff. I didn't hear about lazy. I hear they don't go to the library, but different. Being an asset, I heard he mentioned positives. And asset means positives. Cause professor to publish less research. Okay, not about less research. I think it's B. Sorry, C. Mm-hmm. So it says here, my work at the university has been most affected by the significant reduction in physical space that is needed. While there's less space, it's not really a negative. No longer must our libraries be crammed with stacks full of physical books. Mm-hmm. Says electronic journals and electronic books satisfy students' needs. In fact, students have access to more knowledge than ever before because of digitalization. Mm-hmm. Researchers in particular value e-journals not only for their portability and ease of storage, but also for the text search features. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it looks like he's just talking about the positives. So, an asset, it's something of value to you. So, let's look at question 6. The speaker would most likely agree that libraries are no longer considered places of quiet study. I wouldn't say that he was saying about they're not considered places of quiet study. Maybe that students don't go there. Print books are being replaced by more versatile resources. So, versatile resources are kinds of materials that can be used or can be made in so many different ways. That means versatile resources. And I think he did say that. He said that books are now available in so many different ways. And projection screens are valuable only to certain disciplines. Well, I remember him mentioning projection screens and certain disciplines, but I don't remember him saying that they are only valuable to certain disciplines. We'll check that. And I think that that's an example of what I said earlier, that sometimes they connect different parts or different words, which can be easy to remember, like projection screens and certain disciplines. They connect them in the same idea just to see who was really paying attention, everyone. Video conferencing capabilities are most useful to administrators. I feel that's the same way. Believe it's B. So, well, there we have projection screens right here. It says, furthermore, many libraries now feature large reading and meeting rooms equipped with projection screens and video conferencing capacities. And up here it mentions, with the exception of art history and a few other disciplines, my staff found that electronic databases, electronic journals, and electronic books satisfy students' needs. So you can see that that idea over here about a few other disciplines and projection screens, they're not related or they're not connected. And these words, which are easy to remember, are confused, okay? So we have to be careful about that. Now, in general, here it is saying that lots of different materials or printed materials are now available in many digital forms, okay? So that's why the answer is B. Okay, everyone. Well, it looks like we have everything here. I'm pretty sure. Okay. All right. Okay. Very good. So, so everyone, it's a very good idea to always review the answers and why the answers are the answers and why the answers are not the answers. Okay? It's a very good idea to review that. And we can go back and we can look at our script over here and check the question with the answer to understand it better. And also, if you want to review the other answers, you can retake the test and we can review each answer here. Because it's a very good idea to try to understand the differences between answers. This will build our comprehension skills, okay? That's very important. And also again, going over the script and trying to read this information and understand it sentence by sentence, understanding sentence by sentence or part by part. This will really help you and prepare you for listening to these types of lectures, okay, everyone? All right, so also, I will be leaving a link in the description box to practice, okay? Practice, let's practice the lecture. So let's listen to the lecture again. You can listen to it. And let's do this question set. This is version 2, a different set of questions and answers to test your comprehensive skills, okay? All right, as well, there is a link there to our CELPIP library, everyone. With this discount code, CELPIP79, you can get a 3-month subscription for $10.99. And level 7s to 9, there's well over 50 samples in our CELPIP library, okay? It will really help your listening comprehensive skills. Let's remember, everyone, practice makes perfect. I would like to remind you that if you're looking for some more listening, reading, writing, or speaking CELPIP exam practice, then you should definitely subscribe to our CELPIP library. The CELPIP library has hundreds of examples of listening, reading, writing, and speaking, which will help you develop your score, whatever the score you need. Also, the library contains vocabulary, listening skills, reading skills, grammar, and writing skills exercises, which will really help you improve your general understanding of English and also for the exam. So, and you can purchase a 1-month pass or a 2-month or a 3-month subscription for a very low price. And of course, if you really enjoyed this content, then please like this video, share it, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way we will keep on producing more CELPIP analysis for your development. Have a great day.